Hello and welcome to News Across Nigeria. I'm Olumide Macaulay. Ahead on the program, a group of Ogoni people in Rivers State is asking the federal government not to renew the permits of some international oil exploration companies in the state. Kaduna State government asks all sacked teachers to reapply. And the Ogoni State government reopens all public schools after Lassa fever containment in the state. Thanks again for joining us. Now, a group of Ogoni people are calling on the federal government to take a second look at oil exploration permits in their land by specifically asking the government not to renew the license of international oil companies when it expires and renegotiating with the people. The demands are coming against the backdrop of the group's Ogoni People's Congress. Our correspondent Emmanuel Ereye reports.
Oil exploration and subsequent environmental degradation of Ogoni land have over decades formed the basis of various agitations in the area. By some, like environmental activist Ken Saro-Wiwa, who many of his people believe paid the supreme price for the struggle for environmental justice. Now, a group of Ogoni people known as Ken Saro-Wiwa Associates are seeking to uphold the ideals of the late environmentalist and writer with a call to the federal government.
Shell legal license expired 2019. Shell has applied for renewal. Don't renew it.
Director, should the guests
let the 100% of the block go back to federal government. Ogoni is looking at how to agree with a company that will give Ogoni their stake in the 45%, which Ogoni is prepared to get 25% to negotiate with company of their interest. That is resource control.
The people then gather in this hall for their congress as they continue to share their concerns.
We are demanding what belongs to us within the context of law.
There is, however, the need to forge a united front among the Ogoni people.
The Ogoni people are very fragile in disunity. How do we bring them together? That is my cause, because I am happy that the Leken observed this, having studied the Ogoni people. Very easy. I'm a paramount law of Tenama community, very easy community of Ogoni. And I see the people, I always say, if you can treat the issue of Tenama, you can handle the Ogoni people too. But the same thing I've seen with my so what they do there is what every Ogoni man does.
While the federal government continues to pursue the process of implementing the cleanup of Ogoni land, many believe that various voices of the people should not work at cross purposes. Meanwhile, a spokesman for the Shell Petroleum Development Company of Nigeria Limited, Joseph Obari, insists that the company has not produced oil and gas in Ogoni land since 1993 and has no plans to resume production there. Emmanuel Ereye, Channels Television News.
Following the attacks in Numan local government area of Adamawa State, where unknown gunmen attacked Kikon community, killing at least 4 people, the attackers were said to have raided the community at about 1 a.m. on Sunday, burning down the village. The Commissioner for Information in the state, Ahmed Sajo, says cattle rustling has not been ruled out as one of the possible reasons for the attack. He spoke with us earlier today. Let's take a listen.
We received the news of the attack yesterday in Numan local government with a lot of sadness. The attack is unfortunate. The attack is condemnable. We're just trying to see how we can get out of the cycle of violence and killings, and some people could go and do this attack. We are not very, very happy. But we are also aware that it may have a lot more to do with cattle rustling or some other criminal activity than a clash between communities, but we are studying that angle as well. But most importantly, we as a government, the governor of the state has summoned the security agencies, and they have been asked to go and secure the place. And we are aware that both the army and the police are taking charge of peace in the area, and the normalcy is returning very gradually. And we are also studying the situation. We are interfacing with community leaders. We are interfacing with divisional institutions and religious leaders to make sure that it does not escalate. So far, that is what we are doing, and we hope that by the grace of God, we should get even out of this cycle of violence so that we can continue with our process of moving our state forward.
Ahmed Sajo, Commissioner for Information, Adamawa State. Now, joining us in the studios to talk a bit more about the security situation in the country is Mr. Don Okereke, a security analyst. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
We just heard from the Commissioner of Information, Mr. Ahmed Sajo, Adamawa State, and he's saying something we've heard before. Investigations are going on to determine the faces behind these attacks. Does it concern you that people haven't been brought to book in all these attacks across the country?
Yes, it does. Every time we hear about investigation is going on, and at the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. It is swept under the carpet. I'm not sure I'm the only one that's disappointed with the excuses, with the alibis being bandied in Nigeria. Nigeria is not the only country in the world that, that rears cattle or that herds beef. I think the United States can boast about 80 million thereabout cattle, and Australia, Netherlands, all these countries, they have, a large quantity of cattle. But every time you hear about all of these things in Nigeria, I mean, the problem we have is, I think it's man-made. I think it's definitely man-made, If these guys ranch their cattle, or implant GPS chips into the cattle, nobody can come and rustle the cattle. Wherever the cattle is taken to, it can be tracked, just like people have tracking devices in their cars. Man, these are global best practices. And you hear of excuses every day. People are killed, people are massacred, and they tell us they're investigating. At the end of the day, nothing comes out of it.
Sorry to interrupt you. Speaking of people being killed, are you satisfied with the response of the federal government to this situation, having been called on by, for instance, the governor of Benue State? And I also want to ask you, in the same breath, where does it cease to be a state concern and become a federal government concern?
Well, I am not satisfied with what the federal government is doing about it. For instance, there is no political will to rein in this. To rein in this bloodletting. It is obvious. There is no political will. The political will is not there. For instance, where there were issues in the South-South, in the Southeast, and in some other parts of the country, they unleashed Operation Python Dance, Operation whatever. But in this case now, they sent IG of police to go there.
Isn't that enough?
I don't think it's enough. I don't think it's...
That's
you and I know, with all due respect to him, right? You and I know that it is not enough. These guys, I think they killed a couple of Mopol guys, police officers. That tells you the level of sophistication we are talking about here. So it is not enough to send the police, right? It's a threat to national security. I believe it is high time the military is deployed, to rein this thing in.
Okay. Well, I think the suggestions that the military is being overstretched is another thing that's being bandied. Do you think the military is being overstretched?
I think it's an alibi. I think it's an alibi. If the political will is there, they will find soldiers to be there. There's no two ways about it. If the political will is there, I can tell you tomorrow, in the next 24 hours, there will be a deployment there. But they are just dilly-dallying, and that is not good enough.
The soldiers that have been deployed to the northeastern part of the country have, to a large extent, contained the problem, but not eliminated it. Who's to say, are you saying that the deployment of soldiers to Benue State, for instance, and how many states do they need to deploy them to, will contain the herdsman menace?
Well, it's not just about the deployment of soldiers. I think a holistic approach will help. First of all, we hear excuses being bandied that they're coming from Niger, they're coming from other countries and all that, and these are just excuses. That means they have to cross border entry points to come all the way from whatever, maybe Niger or Cameroon, to enter up to Benue State. They must have passed, they don't just drop shit, they don't just drop from the sky. They pass boundary points. So I think a holistic approach will help. Not just all this fire brigade approach that we're used to in Nigeria, and we do it, the next time it comes back again, it keeps recurring.
Thank you, Mr. Don Okereke, security analyst, for coming on News Across Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
You are watching News Across Nigeria. Coming up, the education sector and just how can the enrollment of out-of-school children be improved. Please stay with us.